Welcome to Season 2, Episode 2 of Uncharted Your Sidekick for Life. I'm Natalie Peyton, joined by my co-host, Dan Dillard and Dr. Leon Vanstone. Each episode, we guide you through the journey of entrepreneurship, life lessons, and everything in between. Tim Hines is our very special guest joining us today. Tim is a global keynote speaker, marketer, author, and fellow podcaster known for his innovative approach to marketing and his dedication to helping others. Tim specifically helps Gen Z people harness their entrepreneurial spirits. We're diving deep into his journey, exploring how to start, pivot, and succeed in today's fast-paced world. Special thanks to our Gen Z contributors, Anna Schmidt, who summarizes one of her guests' questions on finding your own individuality when your family's morals are so strong, and Miles, who shares that younger generations of cynics keep him up at night and asks how he should manage that. Let's hear what Tim has to say.
Welcome to Uncharted, Your Sidekick for Life, Season 2, Episode 2. Nice. This is great. This has been a wonderful journey. I was just talking to so many cool individuals, and we have another cool individual in the house. But before we do that introduction, let's talk about who we are.
Hey, everybody. I'm Natalie Peyton. I'm an actor, comedian, and podcast person, Natalie.
She got it right?
I did. That was a good one.
At what point do you just introduce yourself as personality?
Yeah, I do.
I'm
I think I need to
personality.
trademark.
I'm personality,
personality.
and then I do acting and comedic stuff.
And I'm Dr. Leon Vanstone, rocket scientist, storyteller, and entrepreneur.
Blase,
darling.
As
Rocket
usual.
science, darling.
As usual. And I'll try to be as blasé, or maybe a combination of both. Dan Dillard, media entrepreneur, finance background, and co-founder of Founding Up. Did you say you were co-founder? Did you say that?
I didn't say that this time. I'm trying to get quicker.
He's trying to leave the company.
I am one.
He's like,
I've
doing
got the
so
shares.
much work.
I'm out. Right. That's it. I bought.
Speaking of shares, I'm also doing investor relations with Founding Up.
There you
I feel like I should plug that.
All right. So, we got Tim Hines in the house. You want to talk about? Well,
Tell us about
yourself. What you
about
do.
your journey.
Your journey. Who you are. No, just what you do now. Let's start with that.
Yeah, cool. Well, great. Well, thanks so much for having me here. Hopefully, I'll be able to add some value to this conversation. But
We hope so,
no doubt,
too.
yeah.
Jeez.
If I don't want to let you down, there was a serious vetting that went into this.
Right.
So hopefully I am able to live up to that. So yeah, Tim Hines. So I'm a global keynote speaker, marketer by trade, also author, fellow podcaster. As I mentioned, marketing by trade. My book is called The Marketing Starter. It's all about how marketers can utilize an entrepreneurial mindset or a starter mindset in the way that they approach their marketing. And so I coach and teach business professionals, not just marketers, but outside of that, how to leverage that starter mindset to do great things, harness that starter type of power, and really flex some muscles to be able to do a lot more with less and make things happen. And in line with your show, Gen Z has been a fascination with mine. I'm an older millennial, and as part of my public speaking, I got started talking about millennials in the workforce 10 years ago when we were taking over.
Yeah.
And that talk has since morphed into Gen Z. And so I actually do quite a bit of content around public speaking for advocating for Gen Z, workforce dynamics, things like that. And I also have a Gen Z daughter who's 17.
Oh, wow.
So just looking at the contrast.
That's just customer discovery. That's all that is.
That's yeah. So I actually
I had a daughter just so I could do excellent customer discovery.
Yeah.
Do you pay her?
I do not, but I probably should, because in my Gen Z presentation that I do, I actually have a video of her, and it's really cute, and it always gets some laughs, and she hates it, of course.
That's okay.
Why do you always show that video of me? I'm like, because it's adorable, and
She'll end up loving it later,
it's a
trust me.
perfect contrast to make a great point that I make in the presentations.
That's okay. And I realized that I just said that, right? And Lauren is on our first podcast.
Oh, yeah.
So like, Dad, did you pay me roof over the head? Yes. Here's $25, daughter.
Like, did you pay your cell phone bill? No. Okay, there you go.
There you go.
That's it.
You're welcome. Now you can text.
Yeah.
So you've seen the show. You've seen what we do. Essentially, we have questions. We go out and have Anais, or we actually go out and do some groundwork. We go and talk to Gen Z and figure out what's keeping
the CEO out in the field.
Yeah.
Hey,
Out from behind his desk.
exactly. And I love it. It's great.
It's fun.
go out and talk to Gen Z, just figure out what's on their mind, what's bugging them. Like,
Yeah.
because I've got a 21-year-old, you've got a 17-year-old, so we've got a feeling that we got like one voice there that's always, and we kind of through that we can have this lens of what the generation is experiencing. But it's also nice to go out and talk to various people at the different colleges and whatnot and see what's going on there. So we take some of those pain points and then we just address them on the show, but sprinkling as well kind of your life experiences. We've already kind of talked about this, but like we start off with just talking about what you faced whenever you were younger and how you got to first base, second base, third base, and now you'll go swinging for home, it sounds like. But
we all are. We win by singles,
right?
And bunts,
yeah, that's
and
true.
even walks.
That's right.
Come on,
that's
so
right.
True.
I'm actually a huge baseball fan, so
okay,
I love this. I love this metaphor. We're gonna go.
Well,
deep.
just pop that one out of my head.
I'm just trying not to get struck out. That's all I'm trying.
That's the first step right there.
There you go.
Yeah, right. Don't strike
Bat
out.
on the ball. Yeah.
So I'd love to hear some backstory, and I think our audience would appreciate, obviously all the things, public speaking, what you're doing now, written a book, and marketing. But how did you fall into that? Was that something you studied in school? Was it something that you when you were like 10, you're like, I want to do this? Or like,
I've had a master plan since I was 4, and it's gone perfectly.
Yeah.
We've
is life.
Yeah.
We have run into like a couple people
Never
that like,
failed.
we did this when I was 4. I knew I wanted to be a lawyer. Like,
Now, only one person has ever said that to me,
Right,
and
right.
it was Harley.
Holly.
and
They did.
She did. Yeah, credit to her.
Everything-
She
everything.
said she knew she wanted to be in politics. In fairness,
Okay.
she didn't end up staying in politics. She ended up going into lobbying. So,
Okay.
so still,
It's actually more
still
more
politics,
lucrative
yeah.
and more behind the curtain, which
Right.
is
Right.
probably better.
Yeah.
If you're going to go to politics, lobbying is probably the best.
Right.
certainly more lucrative.
Yeah, that's exactly.
But
More
anyway.
pay, less in the public eye.
The best
like
of
that
both
bet.
worlds.
Yeah.
So what about your story? Let's talk about, your earliest memory of wanting to be in marketing, or maybe not that.
Yeah. Well, I maybe some of your listeners that are in school now can find some solace in my story, which is I originally wanted to be an architect.
All right.
Fascinated by architecture. So I'm from the Chicago area originally, birthplace of a skyscraper.
Beautiful architecture.
Yeah. Obsessed with tall buildings. Even to this day, I actually, the day before we're recording this, just got back from a speaking engagement in Charlotte, and we went to a rooftop bar, and I was like, I got to get pictures of the city. Like, if you look at my Instagram, it's mostly architecture and city pictures, and there's my family.
Yeah.
So
That one picture in 10, there it is.
Here's my daughter next to a skyscraper.
Yes.
Here's my daughter next to a bridge.
Pretty
Here's
much.
my daughter.
Yes, exactly. You got it. So love that. Love travel, obviously, too, because it goes hand in hand. Just to learn about the history and how things are built. I think it's really, really cool. So always nerded out on that. Wanted to be an architect since I was little. So started chasing that dream. Quickly realized that dream, that passion, that thing that I was chasing, I was like, I gotta be this. Wasn't going to work out for me when I hit a brick wall known as mathematics. Not so good at that at the collegiate level. Scratched my way through it in high school, scratched my way through it early on in junior college, and I had some architecture classes there, and I just couldn't nail that down. And I was like, well, what am I going to do? I can't get past this math hurdle. Now, I was lucky enough to have a father who was a serial entrepreneur. My dad started, 2 or 3 companies that I can remember while I was young. So I had that entrepreneurship bug from him, and seeing that passion and how he provided for his family and built cool things and had to shut them down and start them again and move them around quite a bit. And so I was like, well, I do really like business. And so then I was like, well, let me switch over to business school. And so I started kind of chasing that. And then I found marketing itself to be attractive within the business vein when I took a consumer marketing class, and was just really a consumer behavior marketing class, and just started kind of learning about like why people buy things and how we tell stories to get people to understand our products and our messages. And then I was like, okay, cool. I'm a marketer now. And so I went to school for business. Well, went to school initially for for architecture, but freshman year I figured out that wasn't going to work. So luckily I figured it out early on. Yeah. So I'd say I'm fortunate there. Switched to business, finished school with a Bachelor of Science in business and in marketing, and jumped into the marketing as soon as I got out of school, and I've been doing marketing since. And so I've really leaned into it, and I do really enjoy it. There are plenty of things I don't like anymore. I've done quite a bit of shifting in my career. But that's, I guess that's kind of the long version of how I got to marketing, and then just, I guess, kept punching up to get to where I am today.
Cool. I want to know what time frame we're in right now, like when you got out of school. Because
that is a very
changed.
Sweet question to ask, because I feel like maybe from there you can't see the gray in my beard.
No. I have like one gray up here. I'm like cherishing.
I don't know how many I have up here. Okay, that's
why it's shaved. It's actually bald. You just can't face the amount of
I would
gray.
be fully gray. So no, I graduated college I graduated high school in 2001.
Okay.
Graduated college in 2006.
You're asking a math question.
Yeah,
I know.
See, there you go. I was on the 5-year plan.
Okay.
Because I didn't take enough credits, and then I also transferred and lost some credits.
Sure.
Some classes I took, they were like, we're not going to take this class, and I was like, oh great, wasted a semester. So graduated in 2006, and then got in the workforce. I was working actually through school. I had to pay my way through school. My parents didn't pay for my college.
Sure.
So I was very much on the student loan train. However, I never qualified for any like federal stuff. So all my stuff was private.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So guys, it actually took me till about 3 years ago to finally get my stuff paid off. I had to sell a house.
Wow.
I had to sell a house.
That was how you did it.
We sold a house. We made like $200K. I was like, I'm paying off the last $20K of my loans, and we bought a brand new car outright, and then we just put the rest in some investment stuff.
Nice.
That is so cool to hear, because it's so important for our listeners to hear this, and for other millennials like myself who do still have student loans and don't know exactly how I want to tackle it. But so this is so great for you to share. Thank you for sharing.
Well,
that.
my financial advice
would
be pay the thing that is going to have the highest impact on you. So whatever the highest interest rate is, if your student loans are super, super low, like coast on them. That's okay. Like your money is better invested in like a 5% savings account right now to accrue for you than pay off a loan like that's low. But yeah, we'll get there. You got to be strategic and smart about it. I always try to pay more down on them too.
Sure.
But I know this isn't a financial thing. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out.
I was like,
Dan's,
I'm not listening. Like, yeah, I agree with that. There's other strategy. Let's not go there.
Yeah. But I'm not a financial expert by any means, but that's kind of how.
No, but it's great. I love that your appreciated asset of the house had that equity. You're like, boom, done that. And that's creative. That's creative, because it's not always paying out of your pocket. It's like, what assets can I use to pay that? So that's great. Yeah. I'd like to know, or I think the audience, well, both of us might want to know, is the day in the life of like marketing. What is it like to be in marketing? What are the problems you face? Because if there's someone out there thinking, I'm in architecture and I'm not doing the math. Like, what do I do?
Yeah.
What does marketing look like?
So am I just given the skinny of it, or am I advocating? Which one?
I'll be honest.
I'll tell you why I asked what time frame, because so many things have changed over time since you joined the workforce, marketing wise.
Yeah, even of just the last couple of years.
Right. So what does a day in a life of a marketer look like?
Well, a marketer is,
or of Tim.
Yeah. Okay. So, a marketer is very, very, very broad, because it's become very, very specialized. Like specialization from 20 years ago when I was in college to today has dramatically increased. I was actually in that speech I was giving yesterday. I was talking to a group of marketers, and I said, I remember when there were just marketing managers. And then once digital took off, we had to have the specialization of digital marketing managers. And then there's social media marketing managers. And then today, we're going to need AI specialized people, specialized marketing people that know those tools, that have that skill set. So a day in the life of a general marketer, I don't care what specialty or what level you're at, is making sure you're keeping up with the latest technology and how it can be leveraged in your marketing, for sure, especially with AI. Even the most senior generalized CMO should have some sort of AI chops now. Like you got to know how to use it to a certain extent. The same thing from your marketing coordinator level too, that's trying to do everything all at once for a company. So for me, the day in the life for me as a fractional CMO is juggling the needs of multiple clients kind of at once. But it is being more of a marketing-based sounding board for CEOs, right? For them to check in and say, "Hey, am I doing this right? Which strategic direction should we go in? What order of things do I need to do related to my marketing plan? Anything related to go to market? Are we positioning ourselves correctly in the market? Are we talking about our business correctly?" So those are a lot of things that I help with. Now, granted, where I got my start in marketing was as an email marketing coordinator. It was with a company called ticketsnow.com, secondary ticket marketplace that got acquired by Ticketmaster shortly after I left there. So my job was building emails, sending out emails related to ticket alerts saying like, hey, we have new inventory available. Like this concert just went on sale. The Cubs just moved on to the next round of the playoffs. Get your tickets now. See, and so I had to master and know and understand segmentation and messaging and also proper CTAs and emails. So I came from the email background and then kind of started adding other things to my skill set and just discovering different parts of marketing. But I think for me personally, the journey was starting as like, I'm a marketer and then going, oh, email, going, oh, product, going, oh, social media, going like trying different things.
Right.
And so I've kind of cobbled together like this, they call it like a T-shaped marketer, where it's like you're very, very broad at the top. Like you can do a lot of different things. And then maybe you have like one or two things that like you're super good at that you'd like kind of put in the middle. So you're like this T, T-shape.
Is that T still email marketing for you?
Probably not as much. I'm not as good at that anymore. It's changed a lot since those days. Today, my deepest T is more around messaging, positioning, and go to market, which fall very much underneath the product marketing type of role. So that's so if you were to say like, Tim, hey, like outside of the fractional CMO thing, what is like the canned thing that like you could deliver? I would say, well, I'll put a messaging framework together for you. So I've had clients hire me like just for like that project. And I'm like, yeah, sure. It's $10,000. It's going to take me like a month. I'm going to interview you. I'm going to talk to customers. We're going to put together like the language of the business, like your Bible, your piece that you go to anytime. You're going to put an advertisement together. You're going to get up and do a presentation. You're going to do an investor pitch, whatever. This is where you go to find out how you say a specific thing about your business. So I like kind of putting those things together. It's a fun exercise for me. So that's probably my deepest.
Kind of the storytelling component.
Correct.
Almost.
Or this is like a document that has all the components then that you would assemble to tell a story.
Right. Brand doc.
Yeah, but a messaging side of it specifically, all of the written language part.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah, it's kind of
see, and I can see now because as you were talking, like there is so many components because we haven't even talked branding. Branding is a whole different area,
whole other game.
You know that logo and font set and look and feel and all that, and then there's messaging that goes along with it.
Yeah.
So I have had the privilege of working with some bigger firms and going through that 2 or 3 day exercise where they drill down and do the interviews and do all of that. And they come back with this wonderful presentation. I'm like, wow, that came out of our discussion.
That's cool, right?
Really, really
That's very cool.
Really, really
It seems pretty straightforward to me. Just Comic Sans for everything, man.
Yeah. Comic Sans, all caps in an email.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Done.
Maybe a couple emojis just to get some attention.
Yeah.
I do emojis.
I do too.
It's the new thing.
Yeah, throw an emoji in there. I guess it depends on. Always depends on your audience.
Especially with Jesse. Jesse love emojis.
See, so there you go. So that's one of the things that I also help people discover is saying, what is the language you speak? What is your tone of voice and your brand essence in the way that it's presented? And that comes off in a brand look feel, like a brand guideline, but also in how it's written. And if you're using emojis and what you're saying, if it's casual, if it needs to be formal. You know, you're a rocket scientist, but you seem really laid back. You got a flowery shirt on. So I feel like I need to be intelligent, but chill in the way that I talk to you, right? So like that would be, if you were the avatar of who I'm serving. There you go. So I would picture who you are.
Great conversations over a few beers.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, get me in my time.
Yeah, that would actually be really nice in the studio. What happened?
Yeah,
we're in Austin. We need to do any
Scotch
margs
on the rocks or something.
We start slurring at the end of the podcast.
I guess it's it's noon somewhere. Always, right? Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I'm really happy to kind of know more about your field and how you've evolved along the way. And at what point did you decide I need to write a book?
So I always kind of had an inkling like I wanted to, because why not expand my voice into some sort of long form written content? I don't know. It came from the idea of my career path. So we can go back to the nuance of that maybe a little bit to how the book started. So my career path has been kind of a non-traditional one where I've never been able to get anything done. Okay. Nothing's ever done. And
right.
Ironically, for me.
Is this 70-30 rule, nothing's ever done? Or like, I'm a perfectionist, nothing's ever done?
No, it's more of an opportunity. I've been laid off 6 times in my career.
Okay.
So every time I go in and start working at a company, I'm like, this is great. We're going to build all these cool things. And I get to like the 80% mark and they're like, yeah, so market sucks right now. We're cutting half of our staff. Yeah, so I know we brought you on to take on this thing. Yeah, we can't do that anymore. We're going to have to let you go. This has happened to me a bunch of times. And so I will start again and get let go, get laid off. I mean, I've left some jobs, transitions, but it's happened to me so many times that I've looked at my story and gone, I've never really feel like I've never accomplished anything. I guess my accomplishment is the start.
You're good at starting stuff. Yeah.
Right. I'm super good at that. And so that's why it's called the marketing starter. And so it's all about making a career of mastering the start. And so I looked, it was kind of like a, introspective look at myself and say, okay, who am I? What do I do? Well, I'm a starter and I'm okay with that. I'm not a finisher. I'm not a scaler.
Right.
They call it they say you're a 0 to 1 or a 1 to 2 or a 2 to 100. I'm the 0 to 1 guy. That's cool. I am the first at bat for back to back.
Yeah.
I just got to get on base. I'm not hitting the home run. I'm just going to get on base. I got to get to first base. Right. So with the baseball analogy, I love this. This is great. Okay. Well, there's got to be other people out there like me. Surely I'm not the only marketing person that was a ding dong and chose to do marketing in tech, which is like marketing's already volatile. Tech is even more volatile. Why would you put those two things together, Tim, and choose that?
For funsies.
Yes, for funsies. But I look at that as like a blessing.
You
because,
like skydiving too, right?
Yeah, right. Well, motorcycling, we were talking about that. Yeah, like take a little risk. So I look at that as what created the opportunity then for me to say, well, this is my career. My career is starting. And so then that's how I've positioned myself with my fractional CMO business, with the consulting that I do, is I will help you start this and then I'm out.
Before you can fire me.
Bingo. Yeah. Well, and that, right. So, that's been a latest figuring out, because even up until last November, I had a client that I was working with, just doing a bunch of marketing tactical stuff, high level strategy stuff, and they begged me to come on full time with them, and I was like, I don't know, I'm like just getting my consulting business going. I really don't know about that, and they're like, but it's gonna be great. We're gonna build these great things. It's gonna be so cool. And I was like, okay, make me CMO. I'll come on. Pay me this really great salary. They did. And then I was with them building stuff, making things happen. There were some issues, issues.
There's always something. Right?
There's always something. But then they decided to lay me off last November.
Oh, gosh.
And I was like, cool, there's number 6. And so after that, then I was like, okay, well, I need to take more control of my destiny. And that's where I said, okay, I'm going to do this fractional CMO thing where I can do what you just described, which is come in, help, and then get out before you have a chance to fire me.
And then if we like you, can rehire you.
I love that.
But no, I don't even want to. So I've officially decided I don't want
You're
it.
never
so
going back.
not to detract anybody who's listening from getting a job, for sure. But I've decided that I've gotten enough of the experience in my career from the jobs that I've had to be in this position today at age 41 to go, I'm not taking a full-time job from someone anymore.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are fired 6 times in a row, take Tim's advice and rebrand yourself as a consultant. Those aren't career gaps. You were a consultant.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love
I'm a
that
fractional
story.
worker as well.
I love that story because it is glass half full. It is, make lemonade when you've got lemons.
Life's
go.
very failure tolerant, right? It's like I failed out of 3 careers working on this one, right?
Yeah.
It's like, and at the time it really can feel like you screwed up, and that saying, when one door closes, another one opens, right? That false saying is when one door closes, another door opens. But often you are too preoccupied with the closed door to notice, right? There's always something else you can go do. Yeah. And there's always a way to, turn something into a positive, but failure isn't really a thing. I don't know, like it isn't like this end of the world, stop everything, get off the ride, that's it, we're done.
Yeah. That's a good starter mindset that you have there.
The other side of that is what I've learned in my journey is that you go through seasons, and in each season, you're being taught something, and that it ends up being something else at the end. So,
that's
my finance, I loved it. My company, I still own it. I love doing that. I loved having that face-to-face conversation. I had hundreds of those conversations. I got bored. I wanted to expand. Actually, saw some issues that I wanted to solve. The entrepreneur said, I need to solve this. Built a magazine. Loved that. That wasn't going to be scalable enough. It didn't have enough impact for what I wanted. Did some podcasting. Love that. All along, I'm building these skills and journey. And now we're into Founding Up, which now you see the culmination of all the things that actually I can look back and say, I wouldn't be here today doing if I hadn't done great thing that we're working on.
And they hadn't stopped. That's clear. They had, it must have felt to you when COVID hit and just blew the whole podcast stuff up, quite catastrophic. And you might still be doing that.
Right.
You might still be doing podcasts.
Right.
But that would mean you couldn't be doing this.
Right.
Which, I think you feel is probably more meaningful.
Yes. Still looking for that scale, which was what Founding Up is all about. So I finally feel like we're at this place where I need to be in this part of life. But I also think about this. It's like some people do their startups when they're in their 20s and the 30s. And there's this, am I there yet? Why am I'm 50? Why 51?
Most
50.
successful CEOs are older.
But this is just the question that comes in my head is like, all right, so some of these people are so much younger, but then I look at the other side, I couldn't have been this young and gathered all this experience. I needed to go down this journey.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing you say is the same thing. It's like, I had to learn these 6 things to understand who I need to become and who I am today. It's awesome.
Yeah. And it's this goes gut punches that then you go, okay, that doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
I learned how to dodge and weave and punch back, and and to build on your analogy, like the door open, door close thing. I feel like growing up, my mom said that to me 100 times too. But sometimes what a starter does is they open that next door. They go, "There's a door. That door's closed. Let me open up this," or like the door's cracked and kick it. The energy to be able to fully open it, so then then take the step to walk through it. And a lot of people don't.
Right.
One of the biggest things I teach when I do my signature keynote talk, which is on the starter mindset, is do something.
Right.
Anything. Just most people don't do anything. Like,
right.
And I have a picture of just like someone just like laying on the couch. Like, I'm like, don't be this guy. Like you like you said, you saw that problem being problem focused, and they go, what do you mean problem focused? Like, that sounds negative. No. The problem that you can solve.
Right.
And then being ridiculously resourceful. And even if it's just writing something down, today I want to start this podcast. What steps do I have to take to get there? Just take take the first step today. Next week, take the next step.
Yeah.
Do it at the speed you can, but just do something in that direction.
You can take 1 week to mope on the couch, but then you have to get up.
Yeah.
Well, it becomes
lick your wounds and
Well, just take. Sometimes there is a bit. Everyone's like, oh
reset.
man, you just like spend 3 days on the couch playing video games.
Well, what's funny is about that is my wife. Let's see. So I've known her for 10 years. She's been with me through 4 of those those transitions. And it's funny because she's had the same job, like dentistry. She's a super invaluable part of the team.
People are probably going to have teeth for quite a while. Yeah.
Yeah, they always have teeth. They don't always need tech, right? So teeth versus tech is basically like our house. And she's like, I've seen you go through this so many times. And she said, one of the things I admire about you is that you don't waste time trying to open that next door. Mm-hmm. Literally the day that that I get laid off or let go or transition or whatever, I'm already either applying for new jobs or polishing up my resume or whatever. And yeah, I may go take a nap because I'm like, well, now I can have time to take a nap, but I'm doing something like in that second. I'm like, oh gosh, I just lost my job. What do I got to do? I got to feed my family.
Activity,
So what can I do? So I try to do something.
Love
just
that.
do something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not just do it, like that's trademark. But
well,
like Tim Hines, just do something.
Just do something.
Something,
anything.
anything. Guys.
Well, I think it's so important because if we, in just bigger picture, when I look at society, I look at this peer pressure. Let's talk about, this is, college education, all these kind of things. You look at peer pressure and nobody questions the status quo for a long time, right? And I think part of the mindset of like, you're supposed to do this, then this, then this, and this consensus of society says to do this. And I think along with that is what you're saying is because of what we're taught in these systems, it's like you have to do all these things in order to get to the next step. It also causes for inaction because like, I don't have the complete plan. I don't know if I should take that step. It causes intrepidation to move to the next thing, which is why I love innovation. I love entrepreneurism. I love what you just said, just do something, because those individuals understand that I may not know the recipe, but I'm going to start cooking and I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And it's that oomph that one needs to kind of get through life.
Yeah, the cooking is a good analogy for
baseball and cooking.
Because it's true. It's like, are you going to, you don't have the recipe. You don't have you're missing one ingredient. What are you going to do? Not make yourself dinner? You're going to starve? No, you figure it out.
Yeah.
Right.
So I have my sandwich
Baseball
without
and cooking
cheese.
With Tim Hines.
Then that's how you make gluten-free cookies.
There you go. Those are delicious, by the way.
One quick other question before we jump into these questions is book. Did that naturally go to speaking? Because that's
I was already speaking before.
Okay.
So I've been speaking for about 10 years.
So will you be making it an audiobook? You're going to read it?
So
read
actually,
it yourself.
So you know what's funny is more and more, a lot of people really like audiobooks. Even exclusively. Even yesterday, the speaking engagement, I always give a couple copies away. So I do a great lead hook at the end as I'm like summing up my presentation, and at the end I say, all right, before we go, get your phones out, scan this QR code. I'm gonna give a couple copies of my book away. And then everyone's like, and then bam, I get like this awesome lead list afterwards, which is money.
That's smart.
Good marketing, right? And so, but then I give a couple copies away, but I tell the audience to say, hey, and if you don't win, I'm going to send you a digital copy. I send them like the PDF, and then you can buy it on Amazon if you want it. And I had a woman come up to me. She's like, "Oh, do you have it on audio?" And I was like, "No." She's like, "Oh, I only listen to audiobooks in my car." And I'm like, I got to get that audio one. And
dude, it's just hard to read a book while you're That's what I'm saying.
But there's so many great AI tools. Learn your voice, right. And you give the tool.
Give it to
so that's what I'm going to do. There's one called 11 Labs.
Yeah.
You sit there and you train your voice.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I just give it the manuscript to whatever the read version is. So I have to polish it. And it'll record it and it's done.
So back to the question about speaking, because that is a skill set that is not marketing, not architecture. It is completely different. And one of the biggest fears,
communication,
is, I guess it is marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Storytelling, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I stand corrected. But is that?
I'd say it's bigger than just marketing, though. Like speaking could be a lot of things.
Yeah, what called you to that?
How did you get into it?
Yeah, so I had a startup that I had launched in 2014, and it was in the business travel space. It was basically a social events business where I brought business travelers together. It was like designed to like bring road warriors to like a networking event. It was actually kind of a brilliant little business model where I went to hotels because these are travelers. So I went to hotels in Chicago where I live, and I said, hey, I want to do this event. It's going to be about like 30, 50 people. Will you contribute the space? I'm contributing the marketing of bringing an audience here to check out your hotel. We need a couple drink tickets in the space. You can have your salespeople here. You can do tours. And they're like, that sounds great. So I got free event space. Nice. I charged people to come to the event. I had sponsors there. And so I would do them around Chicago. And I had an article written about me and about my perspective on social media, because social media was big 10 years ago in business. Obviously, it was big in personal, but it was kind of taking over business circa 2010, 12, around there. And this Business Travel Association in Tennessee emailed me and they said, hey, we'd love for you to come speak at one of our chapter events. We'll fly you down and put you up in a hotel. What do you think? And I was like, that sounds awesome. And I went down there and I did a talk, and then someone else saw me there, and then they hired me to come back to Tennessee to speak at a different group, and they paid me like $2,000. And I was like, that's cool. Wow. I'm like, how do I do more of this? And then I started doing prospecting and outreach, and it just kind of grew from there. And so, but yeah, now I do it twice a month, internationally, domestically. I'm on the road all the time. Gold status with United.
So now you're the road warrior. You started off talking to road warriors.
Yes.
Now you're the road warrior.
Correct.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, and it's cool. And then the book is, so the book does a couple things for me. One is it's a ton of social cred. It was fun to do, and I feel like it adds value for sure, but it adds to my credibility as both a marketer, professional, but also as a speaker. Like if you're a speaker and also has a book, they're like, oh, you're a published author. Oh, that's cool. Mm-hmm. So I can self-publish. But
yeah, I know. Like, publishing's not as hard as it used to be.
But for the people who don't take the step,
do something.
They're like, how did you? Oh my gosh! And I'm like, anybody could write a book.
Anybody.
But they're like, oh, how would I ever? And I did it before AI too, by the way. Let me preface that. I wrote the book.
Good.
I finished it.
I did the math before calculators.
Yeah, I was writing it in 2019, 2020, and I published it 2.5 years ago. So pre-AI book.
Nice.
Okay.
Pre-AI book.
So no help from ChatGPT. You read that book, that's all me, baby. The whole thing, that's all Tim.
I love that.
No, according to ChatGPT.
According to ChatGPT.
According to just Tim.
I love just open it up. It's just like chapter 1, and it just goes, yeah, absolutely, I can do that for you. And you're just like, God, lie.
Yeah. Like, oops, I copied and pasted the wrong piece of that. How can I help you today? Why is that in there?
Or a logo at the bottom.
Yeah, oops.
Yeah. All right, let's jump into these questions. So you picked Miles. What keeps you up at night? Let's see what Miles had to say.
I am very particularly worried about my generation and younger generations of people and their cynicism, social cynicism, political cynicism. I think that cynicism leads to apathy, and when people become apathetic, when a society becomes apathetic about not only the things around them, but the systems that respond to those things, they don't pursue leadership, and they allow other people with ill intentions to take over and dictate their life. That's what keeps me up at night.
Wow.
Yeah.
Deep. This guy's deep, man.
This guy's what? Deep. This guy's like 20, 21?
Yeah, he taught me so
bring
much
him
that
in
day.
the show, because he's very well spoken, and
he runs student government at ACC.
Cynicism leads to apathy. Apathy leads to anger. Anger to the dark side.
Yes, we were right there.
Okay. Where was I?
Nerd.
Not being a nerd?
Star Wars.
Okay. I figured, but just had to make sure.
Yeah.
I recognized I couldn't follow the quote, but I was like, okay, I get it. I know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Dark side.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Why'd you choose this? Let's go with this.
Yeah, well, so it kind of tugged at the heartstrings for me a little bit, related, going back to this do something, this entrepreneurial attitude, and that my biggest concern for this generation is that they're being told that there is no future for them.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there going, what are we doing? What are we doing? From like extreme views on everything. The world is ending from whatever, like don't have kids, like there's too many people on the planet. Climate change is going to kill you. The government sucks. Like everything sucks. And it's like, we're probably actually, things have changed, but we're probably going to be okay, guys. Yeah. And they're being taught that. And I could see why he's like, this is the cynicism that's being taught, and then it's leading to me going, well, I don't do anything. And so then that's why I'm out here preaching, do something, because you like this apathy of this generation then will lead to then nothing ever.
It's self-fulfilling.
Yeah, it's self.
If you do give up, lay down, and stop moving, you will die.
I mean, Right. And we're like sharks. We have to move.
Mhm.
Right.
Something has to get done. And then he said that example of people don't want to take leadership positions, and people who have ill intentions will want to take them. And I'm sitting here going, well, the ill-intentioned people, then what? They're not apathetic. So is it only the positive people then are apathetic? So I was a little. That would be one of the things I'd probably want to say to him. As I would say, well, eventually your generation is going to have to step up and take these leadership roles. Like even if you just stumble into them, it's going to happen. I think organically anyway.
Right.
So there can be maybe a weird line of hope there for him, but.
I totally agree with you, and I think obviously you're a father of a 17-year-old, so you feel it. You feel the generation pressure closer because you're having that dialogue with your daughter, right? Yeah. Same with me and my 21-year-old. It's like from the time she was 13, I've said this on the show multiple times. I've seen this hopelessness, and being a positive individual myself, seems like a glass half full kind of guy. Yeah. To see your offspring be like, I have no hope for the future. Neither does any of my friends.
Yeah.
And so I see what he's talking about, but you're right. It's just what they're growing up with.
Yeah.
And then I love your message about do something. And I mean, it's not real.
No, it's not.
It's not real. Media and everything that's out there, it's not real. I mean, go live life.
Yeah.
Life is out there for everyone.
Yeah.
I think one of the things as well that social media is bad for, like even before you have any kind of negative messaging, right, is if you think of the way the human brain works, right, they think humans are sort of maximally living in communities of 100, 150, right? I won't bore you with where that reason came from. If you're listening, you can look it up, right? Let's say it's 100.
How many people you can know well?
Let's say it's 100, right? You live in a tribe of 100. That's what our brains are kind of evolved for, right? Okay, so you live in a tribe of 100. That means if you're the very best hunter, right? Good for you. Best person in existence. If there's one other person better than you, you're doing all right. If there's 10 other people, you're still pretty good. If there's 50 people, you're average. If there's 100 people, 99 people better than you at hunting, you are literally the worst person in your world, right?
Oh.
Yeah, where is this going?
Yeah.
So
I'm feeling very apathetic.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you can go online and find 10,000 people that can do any single thing you might consider to be part of your personality. And they will do things you didn't even know were possible.
Yes.
Right. And it's very easy then to feel that that's hopeless, for your brain to go, God, there's so many people that are better than me at this, because it has this kind of hardwiring.
Yeah.
It's as if 100 people are better than you, don't do this. Find something else, right? And I think social media kind of tricks you a bit by finding you endless examples of people who are good at things that you might consider yourself good at.
Yeah.
And it's this like hardwiring in your brain that kind of says, give up on that and find something else. Yeah. But it's not designed for this world where constantly all of this information is coming to you, right?
I agree.
And you have to just kind of shut it off. You have to say that's social media and it's fun that somebody else is good at that thing too. Maybe I can learn from them, but don't give up, because again, like you say, it's only through doing things that you get better. And moreover, that unique combination, it's never just one skill that contributes to a person, right? That unique combination of experiences from finance to podcast or whatever, right? That each of us has does make you very unique.
Yeah.
And is this very special piece that you can really bring to find something interesting. But there's this piece of your brain, just like it's like, oh, you hear about some kid getting kidnapped and suddenly everyone locks their kids inside. You can't go outside. Even though
that's my wife. I'm like, that's the most extreme.
Right. Or it's like one example of the most extreme piece of violence that's happened this week. But your brain's like, oh God, like that's the bit I have to worry about. Right. Our brains aren't well designed for the societies that we live in and the technology that's around us. And that's okay. You just have to be mindful sometimes and be like, it's cool. I'm just going to tone that down and do my thing.
So on
finding your genius.
So I like that. And to build on what you're saying and bringing it back to like maybe a business perspective and a marketing perspective, because I'll always do that if I'm given the opportunity. It can be discouraging. I get discouraged. Like I see other speakers that speak on the same thing as me. I'm like, damn, they're good. Like, am I doing this right? Like, but then I go, people keep buying what I'm doing, so I'm going to keep doing it. And I think that's part of natural humanity to go, well, there's a million other podcasts out there. Like, why would they listen to mine? Like, what's the point?
We're not Joe Rogan.
Yeah, we're not Joe Rogan. Like, why?
So I should give up. Right?
Should I give up? Well, no. You know why you shouldn't? Because how many grocery store chains are there? How many social media apps are there?
Right.
How many rocket ship companies are there? Well, there's only a few, but there's not just one. How many different types of businesses are there out there that are running completely parallel in competition with each other? Because the makeup, the founders, their unique selling proposition, what they stand for, what they believe, each one is different, and then you feel that when you like go into that place.
Right.
So if you think about going into a department store, you go into a Neiman Marcus versus a Kohl's versus a Macy's versus a wherever you like to shop. They're all department stores. They all sell tops and cowboy boots and pants, but they're slightly different in their own way. But because there was already a market that existed and there were already people in that market, that didn't stop those founders, those people from going, no, I'm gonna do it a slightly different way. I'm gonna do it my way.
Mm-hmm.
Why are there a million different pizza chains? They're next to each other sometimes in a plaza. Like, why is there a Little Caesars and pizza?
Sometimes it's even the same Starbucks across the street from each other.
Correct.
But people will still have a favorite.
They still have a favorite.
They still have one they prefer.
But my point to that is, just because something already exists, that doesn't mean that, the idea was taken, I shouldn't do it. It's no, you can iterate on it to make it better, because I guarantee you that there's something that sucks about them that you could change in your version of it.
Right.
And cater to a specific subgroup of people, because the opportunity lies in the humanity, because we all want something different. You want something different from your Starbucks. I want something different from mine. That one across the street makes it the way you like it, and the baristas at mine make it the way I like it. So I'll meet you at the park. You go to yours, I'll go to mine.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We'll all have different opinions and different wants and needs.
And also, like, look at Pint House Pizza.
Yeah.
Here in Austin.
Yeah.
You should never
Cool
start
spot.
a pizza shop. That's a terrible idea. It's an incredibly crowded market. You'll never make any money.
Yeah.
Starts chain pizza restaurant, throws brewery in for fun. Now has market leading beer.
Yeah.
The electric jellyfish was invented by them by chance.
Right. So that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's why we shouldn't be apathetic. And so I get where he's coming from, because they're almost being groomed to feel that way.
Right.
But the way that I see it is like, there's always an opportunity in every technological advancement, going back to AI. And one of the things I talk about with that is people are like, oh my gosh, I'm worried it's going to take my job. No, it's going to make your job better. Mm-hmm. But if your job does get eliminated because of it, guess what? It just created 1,000 new jobs, because now there's someone who has to fix the AI. Yeah. There's someone who has to do that. So there's always something new is created. Every time something new is created, new opportunity then kind of follows in its wake.
Right.
That's why we shouldn't be apathetic.
I was going to say the same thing through an entrepreneur's eyes, in that entrepreneurs look at a problem like apathy and look at the problem in society and say, how can I be the change I want to see?
Yeah.
Right. That is an opportunity to change. And it could be a huge project like what Founding Up is doing. It's like, when I first started talking about this, people were like, wow, that's big. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't stop you. You just it is a big problem. And that's just, it's like that story of the shoe salesman that went to another country and he got sent over there and he calls his boss back, nobody wears shoes here. I'm coming back. Mm-hmm. And then they send someone else. He's like, nobody wears shoes here. Send me 50,000 pairs.
Bingo.
And so it's just how you see it.
My issue with stuff like this is the divisiveness that is caused between disagreements, or all of the things that Gen Z is getting fed, like, oh, it's the end of the world and all this bad stuff is going to happen. And I recently heard, I think it was a pastor say, no Christian ever got anybody else to become a Christian by talking about, like, I have this amazing prayer routine and I go to church every Sunday and I'm so amazing. Just like political divisiveness. Nobody has ever gotten anybody to go to the other side by talking crap about the other side. Like, oh yeah, I want to be a part of them because they're really good at, talking crap.
Yeah.
But I say that because there's no reason to be apathetic. I'm shifting the framework of this conversation to say we should hear out everybody's perspectives rather than just be angry, not do something. And
so you're getting to the problem solving part of this, which is like, hey, the divisiveness is a current problem. Who can I be to change that? Right. And so what you're already offering a solution, like maybe we stop by not talking bad about the other things, just being more accepting. So there are some shifts that need to be there, but it is be the change you want to see. So that's, well, let's talk values.
Now I hate everyone and I'm right.
Oh,
I had a conversation with a friend of mine the other day, and what came out of it is that he is quite lost in the values of his family. Meaning, it seems to me that he's having sort of a crisis with his identity, where he doesn't really know what he is as an individual and what he learned from his family. And I feel like he's stuck in something that he can't really put a pin on. And he's trying to, I imagine, to just like swim in this uncertainty of life and what it means to be alone and an individual outside of your family. So the question is that I would like to bring is, how do you find your own individuality when your family morals and family values are so strong, but at the same time they make you feel like you don't really have a space for what you are and what you want to be?
another deep question. Thank you very much.
That one's
Right, 60 seconds, go.
super deep. Yeah. So I feel like so my wife is Brazilian. And you see a lot of this kind of thing, I think, in a lot of very culturally deep type of families.
Right.
And so for her, this one kind of struck with me because I was like, she's struggled with this. She's like, well, I'm Brazilian, but then I've been living here since I was 3, and sometimes I miss my culture, and like I just want to make a Brazilian home cooked meal, and then yes, of course we can go get American barbecue. And so she's like always kind of like all over the place. And I think we all sometimes struggle to figure out what our identity is. And I think as we get more and more mature, we figure that out. But I feel like this generation almost puts too much pressure on themselves to like, I got to have this known by the time I'm 20.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think you have to. I think it's okay. It's always evolving. And I think it's okay to find the parts of your family dynamic or your culture or whatever that you are that uplift you, that you can attach to, and then find the unique parts of life that you enjoy to create your unique person who you are.
Yeah.
And that can continue to evolve over time. But my biggest takeaway from this is and I'm assuming this person that she's talking about is a Gen Z. So I'm like, okay, they're younger.
They are.
So don't stress yourself out, like going, oh, I need to like, again, follow the set of rules. I need to like have this plan. I need to have my identity all set by the time I'm 20. I didn't know who the hell I was. Do you think I knew I wanted to be a fractional CMO and a keynote speaker and a dad and like if you were to wrap up who I am today, I'm a very, very different person than who I was 20 years ago when I first entered the workforce. So I didn't pretend to have that figured out. You know, it's silly. It sounds like just be you who you are in that moment.
Be okay with that
and be cool with it. Like don't put that pressure on you, and don't let social media and the TikTokers that are like, oh, I'm this influencer and I got all my shit
your job won't exist in 5 years.
Instagram
versus else.
Yes,
right?
Instagram versus reality, and trends come and go.
I think what I'd like to add to that is completely understand the cultures. I grew up in a culture where you know, this is how things should be, and this is, you know, and what helped me is what this show is all about: mentors. It wasn't until I built a magazine, and it wasn't, I mean, earlier than that, but when I really saw it is when I met 300 other people, and I went out and talked to them and understood their perspectives on life. So similar to what you were saying about politics, it's like reaching out and just like, let me have coffee. It's as simple as let's grab coffee, because I've got some questions, and then help me with this. I'm struggling with this, and being okay with that, and then understanding that single hour that you spend with an individual will be a piece of puzzle that will open your eyes and shape your identity. I mean, my identity completely shifted even at 40 or whenever I was 45 when I did that.
Yeah.
But along the way, even before that, the various mentors I'd bring into my life, which give me glimpses into other things. And so if you're struggling with right now, the sense of being is family, because that's what your launch is.
Yeah, exactly.
But then from there, it's okay to have friends and other people that have done things before and ask them questions, and your family, you know, it was the foundation, but then you build upon that.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep. Yeah.
And it's okay this isn't the best word, but it's okay to divorce from what your family told you to believe growing up, or at least pivot a little bit. Like, I totally respect my family's belief system and I am a Christian and all that, but I don't necessarily believe and agree with everything my grandmother or my parents or even my sisters believe in politically. And that's okay. Yeah. We can still love each other. Yeah. I think I've said this on a show before, but one way I identified my value system that was separate from my family's was I printed out a list of 50 different values and I circled the ones that were in my top 5 and I starred ones that were in my top 10. And then I really sat with it and narrowed it down and figured out like 5 huge values that matter to me that define who I am as a person. And that was tremendously helpful because I did it on my own and I didn't necessarily I agree with asking and running things by people, but this one I had to do on my own.
That. Yeah,
I love that.
It's good exercise.
I was thinking about the analogies, since we've been talking about analogies, is you have these trees that have, they'll have pups that fall next to the tree, right? And they'll grow to a certain extent, but the shade of the bigger tree is so much that they will never develop to be what they can be if they're not pulled out and put somewhere where there's sun on their own. And so same thing with humans. It's like we've got that base, but to be able to reach our own potential, we've got to go out there and figure it out and just do it.
Yep. Nope.
Do something.
I knew I said it wrong as soon as
I got to put the I.
Yes. I was like, or TH or T. No, TIM.
Yeah. Alrighty. Any final thoughts?
Well, just to throw one thing in on top of that,
does it have to do with rockets?
It does not. No.
Oh, man.
Sorry, but different podcast. So no, but it was interesting you said about the mentorship, right? Because I feel Gen Z has this unique problem where it's easy to find a lot of connection to your community through the way that you serve that community, and that was originally quite doable by just getting a job. Right. You really, like, my dad had to go get a job so he could earn money, so he could help pay for his younger siblings. He had to do that. He went to a trade school. It was a very well respected thing, blah, 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 blah. They needed them. They were asking for them. They paid quite well. Right. You know why you're there. You know what you're doing. You know that you're helping your immediate community and your broader society. And that's a good way to connect to your society. Versus today, like, is Gen Z critically needed in the workforce? No. Because with the advent of automation and technology, we're really struggling to actually figure out what we want to do with people. And that's really tough. That's not their fault. That's not because they're not capable or valuable or whatever else. They're just sort of the lowest on the employee rung, right? And we as a broad society are figuring this out. And so it's really tough because really what we said was the only way to find out who you are is to jump to the top of the Maslow's needs pyramid and do, self-actualization, because all the low-hanging fruits kind of been taken away. You can't just get a job and figure it out from there. I need you to go straight to self-actualization, which, like, my grandfather never figured out who he was. He had no idea what his self-identity was. He just knew what he was told and his values were, right? And what his job told him to do. And so going back to what you said, though, it's about connecting to those mentors, because those mentors do have a good idea of how you can connect to your society and to your community. And it can be, your family is a strong anchor to your immediate community. And it can be hard sometimes to move away from their values or to think about, what do I mean in the absence of my family? And the answer there is go find some mentorship if you can. Go start talking to people, because they can help connect you as well. You shouldn't necessarily abandon your family or move away from them, but I loved your analogy about, if you plant a tree in the shade of the larger tree, it just dies. Yeah. There's nothing there. Yeah, that's my
That's 3 for 3 this time. I'm on a roll.
Baseball,
you're killing it.
Cooking and trees with Tim Hines.
How do those things go together?
I agree with that. And I know that you meant it in a positive way for anybody who's taking this, but Gen Z, you do have it hard. And that's why we build this show, is because we, as parents, as mentors, as teachers, professors have seen this and have seen that pain. And that's why we are doing the work that we do, is to bring that voice to be your sidekick for life, because we want to acknowledge that pressure exists, but also that opportunity exists.
It's something whole and completely new, right?
Yeah, and it takes you going out and asking that question and doing the work and making sure you're patient with yourself along the way, and it'll be okay at the end of the day.
It's gonna be okay, guys.
It'll be fine.
It'll be okay. T-I.
And with that,
the older generations care. That's why you have older.
Yeah.
Even though we're two separated, we care. That's why this podcast exists. That's why your organization exists. There's people out here that want to help you.
Exactly.
That's why we're here today.
With that, that's a wrap for episode 2, season 2, episode 2.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank
This
you
was fun.
for coming.
Thanks.
And that wraps up another episode of Uncharted Your Sidekick for Life. A huge thank you to Tim Hines for sharing his incredible journey and insights with us today. Remember, the key takeaway here is to keep starting, keep pushing, and never be afraid to pivot when life throws you a curveball. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share this episode with someone who might need a little inspiration. If you would like to participate as a Gen Z guest or a mentor, visit our site at foundingup.com or check out the show notes. And as always, keep pushing forward, stay curious, and don't be afraid to explore the uncharted.